slide on, or do you want it off?
Oh, I don't know. Can everybody see the slides?
Yeah.
Okay, we're fine then. Yeah. Hi. Several years ago, I had a problem in my family. I won't make you raise your hands, but has anybody here ever had a problem in their family? Yeah. I had a very strong-willed, strong-headed 15-year-old daughter, and we were going at it. We were arguing all the time, yelling at each other, slamming doors. It was horrible. I was at a self-development event, and I was talking to one of the coaches about it. And the coach started asking me, what did I want? I was like, I want her to follow my rules. I want her respect, right? And she just kept asking me. And through a series of questions, I realized I wanted her love. She's grown up. I felt like I was losing her. And then the coach looked at me, and she didn't tell me what to do. She asked me another question. She said, how are you showing her love? Wow. I wasn't even showing her love, right? I realized at that point that I wasn't acting in a way that was getting me the outcome that I wanted. I realized I was going to have to change my behavior and maybe ask a few questions of my own. Like, why were certain things so important to my daughter? Like, instead of going head to head with her, asking her some questions. What did she want? It changed our relationship. It grew our relationship. And it was the first time in a series of different things that I was asked a bunch of questions that made me think differently. It was an introduction for me about the power of questions. My name's Deborah Razo, and I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. Like Christina said, I flip here in California. I have single-family homes in Memphis, Tennessee, and multifamily homes in Tucson, Arizona. So what we're going to do here today is a little different than a typical real estate club meeting. I'm going to introduce an idea to you. Actually, it's a skill. And I'm going to talk to you about this skill, and then we're going to apply it not only to yourself, but to your real estate plan. So it's a little different than maybe regular real estate club meetings work. So at the end, we're also going to have a series of questions, and I'm going to take you through a case study, too, a real estate case study. Now, about a little over 8 years ago, I had an opportunity to start over. Has anybody ever had those opportunities? Am I the only one? Yeah. Some people have this opportunity. They go through divorce or bankruptcy or the loss of a loved one. I was in a car accident. We were in an SUV, a tire popped, and the driver of the SUV lost control of the car. And the car swerved off into the dirt, and the rim of the tire that popped dug into the dirt, and the car flipped. The car flipped driver's side first, and I was in the passenger side. So I got the brunt of the impact. Eventually, I was air-vac'd to a hospital where they stitched up a lot of the head wounds that I had, and I was told that I had broken my neck. I know. And I was told they couldn't operate on me because everything was so swollen, they had to wait until the swelling went down. And I got a titanium brace between my C4 and C5. It was a long road to recovery. It was over a year. And during that time, I had some time to think about life and how short it was. And was I really doing what I wanted to do in life? And don't get me wrong, I didn't have a bad life. I had a couple different businesses, which unfortunately were suspended at the time because I was down. They were working, but they were limping along. But really what was happening is the businesses were requiring a lot of my time. I was consumed with them. I loved them, but I was consumed with them. I didn't have a ton of time for family, which is what I really wanted. I didn't have time to travel, which was another thing I wanted. I wanted some freedoms. And I thought, well, this isn't time to start over. Let's start looking for some way to get it. and I heard about passive income. I'm like, yeah, sign me up, right? I'm on that boat. So I started looking into different ways to earn passive income, royalties and real estate, and I thought, this is it. I'm gonna go for the passive income and see what I can do. But I actually didn't know how to get there. It was really different than what I was used to. At the time I had a business where I billed out hourly. It was like an exchange, time for money, right? Passive income isn't like that. And yet I was still thinking in terms of how the time I'm spending should be billable. You know? It took some time for me to understand that things were different when it came to passive income. And I needed some help with that. My brother, who actually came out and took care of me while I was healing, had been to a bunch of Tony Robbins events. For those of you that don't know Tony Robbins, he's an author, and he's a peak performance coach. And he said, well, when you're better, maybe you should go to one of his events. And I thought, okay, and I did. I went to one of his events, and I started realizing that not only did I need to change my mindset, I needed to really change what my outcomes were gonna be, right? And I've been in that environment now for about 7 years, and I'm now one of Tony's trainers, and there's about 125 of us that travels worldwide with him to help people through the events, participants. So what I'd like you to know is that during that time in that environment, I learned a valuable skill, and it was about questions. And that skill is something that I've taken into myself and with my teams and into real estate, and it's become very profitable for me. So would that be a valuable skill for you guys to learn tonight? Great. The title of my talk tonight is Ask, Answer, Act. Ask, are there any bad questions? Yes, there are some really bad questions. When we ask ourselves bad questions, we come up with crappy answers. Those are not the kind of things we want to surround ourselves with. So we're going to talk about the difference between bad questions and quality questions. Answer. Are we listening to the answers of the questions that we're asking? Not only of ourselves, because when we ask ourselves questions, we answer those, but of our teams, the people that we're working with. Questions can do a lot for us. So that's the answer part. And act. We're going to act. You guys are going to get into action tonight and actually practice the art of asking questions. Okay, so we all up for that? So I'm going to ask you guys for a couple things, and that is, one, just to open your mind to new possibilities, to try something new. Is everybody here okay with trying something new tonight? Great. And the other thing I'm going to ask is that you play full out, that you participate, which means if you're willing to participate, I need to see hands up. Is everybody? Okay, great. All right, so what do questions do? Quality questions allow people to find their own answers. Who here has ever been told what to do? Who likes being told what to do? Nobody likes being told what to do. Oh, you do, Christina?
My daughter tells me all the time.
The fact of the matter is, there's a huge difference between asking and telling. And that's one of the things that quality questions will do. Another thing is, a great question can change a person's state in an instant. They can go from a state of limitedness to a state of possibilities, okay? And the third thing is that questions can access a person's true desires. It's like the story I told you earlier. The amount of questions asked to me accessed my true desires. And that creates leverage to create change. Now, there is a video clip that I'm going to show for you guys. It's from Up in the Air, that movie, and with Anna Kendrick and George Clooney. And George Clooney is going to ask some amazing questions. And I want you all to listen in, and then we're going to talk about the questions he asks, okay? Oh, and there's some language. Sorry. Yeah.
Make about 90 grand a year now. Unemployment is what, 250 bucks a week? Is that one of your positive effects?
Oh,
That was short.
okay. We're gonna do over.
Make about 90 grand a year now. Unemployment is what, 250 bucks a week? Is that one of your positive effects? Well, we get to be cozier because I'm not gonna be able to pay my mortgage on my house, so maybe we can move into a nice fucking one-bedroom apartment somewhere. And I guess without benefits, I'll be able to hold my daughter as she, suffers from her asthma that I won't be able to afford the medication for.
Well, tests have shown that children under moderate trauma have a tendency to apply themselves academically as they might get COVID.
Go fuck yourself. That's what my kids think.
Children's admiration is important to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
I doubt they ever admired you, Bob.
Hey, asshole, aren't you supposed to be consoling me?
I'm not a shrink, Bob. I'm a wake-up call. You know why kids love athletes?
I don't know, because they screw lingerie models.
No, that's why we love athletes. Kids love athletes because they follow their dreams.
Well, I can't dunk.
No, but you can cook.
What are you talking about?
Your resume says that you minored in French culinary arts. Most students, they work at a fryer at KFC, but you bus tables at Il Piccadilly to support yourself. And then you get out of college and come to work here. How much did they first pay you to give up on your dreams?
27 grand a year.
And when were you going to stop and come back and do what makes you happy?
Good question.
I see guys who work at the same company for their entire lives, guys exactly like you. They clock in, they clock out, and they never have a moment of happiness. You have an opportunity here, Bob. This is a rebirth. If not for you, do it for your children.
All right. Who caught some of the questions that were asked? Anybody catch anything?
Well, they're all value-related questions.
Value related.
Your kids' admiration means a lot to you.
Your kids' admiration means a lot to you.
When did you give up on your dream?
When did you give up on your dream? How much did they pay you to give up on your dream? Great questions, right? Did you see how quickly the person was taken from no possibility to some possibility just by asking questions? So, Tony Robbins says that the quality of your life is directly proportional to the quality of questions you ask. And every question we ask, whether it's stated out loud or in our mind, our unconscious mind answers. So that means if we're asking questions internally, our unconscious mind's answering them. I'm a believer that the wealth process starts here. Has anybody ever heard of or read the book Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich? Yes. What's the first word? Think, right? We have to get what's right here first and then figure it out. But the fact of the matter is, we trip ourselves up sometimes in here. Sometimes we're not asking great questions. We get a little stuck in our head. For instance, why does this always happen to me? What's wrong with me? Why am I so stupid? Why can't I have what I want? Why do I seem to be ending up in the same place? Why don't I have enough time? Why can't I seem to make any more money? If we've asked these questions in our head, we've unconsciously answered them. Has anybody here recognized any of those questions? Yeah, maybe. What would be a more empowering question to replace those with? How about, what do I want to experience? What can I learn from this? What's great about this problem? What am I willing to do to make it the way I want? How can I enjoy this process? Where do I want to contribute? How can I help in this situation? How can I create a win-win for everyone? How can I make a difference? How can I feel satisfied? What's another way I could make money from this? Do you see the difference in asking yourself those questions? What if you ended your day asking yourself, what have I given today? What have I learned today? What makes today great? What benefits would you gain from asking yourself these types of questions? So there are 3 things that we gain from questions. First thing, quality questions help you gain valuable information and learn about people. So people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? These are some questions that'll help you build rapport. I'm going to give you all a hint that maybe you want to write your favorite ones down because you might be saying them later. What brings you to this meeting? Tell me about your investing experience. Have you tried other ways to invest? Where do you want to invest? What do you want to invest in? What's been most challenging to you? What is it that you want real estate to do for you? When would you like that to happen by? These are great rapport building questions. Questions can open up and get you to know other people. Secondly, quality questions direct focus and open up possibilities. So I work with entrepreneurs, and sometimes under stressful situations, an entrepreneur might ask their team, why did you do that like that? What were you thinking? Questions like that disempower a team. They lead to excuses and blame and stories, and ultimately, defeat. As opposed to another entrepreneur that might ask, how can we make a great solution out of this? How can we get creative with this? How can we still come in on budget and still get the job done? Questions like that lead a team to thinking more creatively, to actually finding the answer, to empowering them and moving forward. Which entrepreneur do you think will be more successful? Questions direct focus, and in business, focus is critical. Thirdly, quality questions allow people to find their own answers. We talked about that already, right? Quality questions will help people discover what it is that they really want. And once they do, they're more likely to move towards it. It directs focus and allows them to find their own answers. All right, it's your turn. I told you I was going to get you up and in action. So what we're going to do is we're going to get in pairs. One person's going to be A and the other person's going to be B. We're going to take 2 minutes, and A is going to ask B questions. No commentaries, no opinions, just questions. You're going to get to know somebody. So stand up and find one person to work with. All right, I want some feedback. What'd you guys learn? People are interesting. And what's even better is that when you get curious about somebody, how much you can learn, right? People are very interesting. What'd you learn?
If you're genuinely interested in the other person, you can actually learn some new things that'll help you.
Right, you can. And how valuable is it to understand somebody else's perspective? To kind of get a little peek into their world. Is that valuable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Find out what motivates them.
Find out what motivates them, right? Can we use that in real estate in a lot of different ways? Because this is what we're going to talk about. How does this have anything to do with real estate, right? But this is a skill that you can apply to real estate in a lot of different ways. Not only can you ask yourself questions to figure out your own investor identity, to figure out what area of real estate you want to go into. I saw from the show of hands in here that there were a lot of people who are new to real estate, who might just be figuring that stuff out. And then there's some of us that have been in real estate for a while and it's the new year. And we're figuring out what this year has in store for us. So what I did is I put together a series of 10 questions. And you guys are going to need to get a piece of paper or something to write on, okay? We're going to go through these 10 questions, and they're going to help you to identify your own investing philosophy for this year. We're just going to deal with this year, okay? And I'm going to ask these really quickly, and some of these questions are fairly detailed, and I don't want you guys spending a lot of time on these questions. These are supposed to be your gut answers, all right? There's no right or wrong to any of these answers. Don't overthink them. We're just going to go through kind of rapid fire, and we're going to talk about these questions, and they're going to help define you and how you're going forward this year. Okay? All right. So let me see where I am here. What's your primary objective? This has to do with what you want property to do for you. Okay? What's most important to you? Is it monthly cash flow? Is it long-term growth? Tax benefits, chunk money, flipping, is that important to you? Are you trying to build income for today? Your net worth for tomorrow? If there's more than one thing that's appealing to you, real quick, write them in priority. 1, 2, 3. Lower tax liability. What skills do you need to move forward? Who could help you? Real quick, just off the top of your head. Real quick. Second question's about risk tolerance. How much are you willing to risk? What does an aggressive investment look like? What does a conservative investment look like? Real quick, off the top of your head, what's too risky for you? What's too conservative? All right, third question. Property type. What types of properties are you interested in? Are you interested in single family? Multifamily? A large portfolio is hotels? Commercial real estate? What's scary? Raw land, is that scary? Large buildings, industrial? What are you interested in? What captivates your attention? Property type. Property profile. This is, where do you want your property? Is it a war zone or do you want pride of ownership? Right? Some people classify properties in A, B, and C class. A being a Nordstrom shopping experience, right? B being Target, and C being Walmart. So where do you want to shop, right? What class of property do you want to be in? Property management. How involved do you want to be in the day-to-day operations of a property? Do you want to self-manage? Do you want to have it professionally managed? How do you feel about paying for fees, realtor fees, tenant placement fees, contractors? How do you feel about coordinating all that? Where are you with that? Six, investment proximity. Where are you willing to invest? How far are you willing to go? Are you willing to just go next door? Is that how far you're willing to go? Are you willing to go out of state? Are you willing to go out of country? What proximity do you need to have to your investment properties? Seven, time horizons. How long are you comfortable having your investment money in a project? You know, real estate isn't very liquid unless you're flipping. So you really need to think about how long you want to invest in a project. What's the length of time you feel comfortable having your money in something? How long until you start moving towards your goals? Timeline, time horizon. 8, partners. Are you a lone ranger? Do you want to be in a syndication? How do you feel about having a lot of people involved in your deals? Or maybe you just want 1 or 2 partners. How would you find a partner if you wanted a partner? How long would you feel comfortable doing business together? Nine, resources. What are your resources? Do you have time? Do you have money? Do you have experiences? Do you have skills? Do you have credit? What are your resources? Ten. What's it all for? Why do this whole real estate thing? What makes you get up in the morning? Christina talked to us about being able to be an at-home mom. Is it important for you to do that? Do you want experiences? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want stuff? Stuff is great. Do you want to be able to give stuff? Do you want to give your mom a house? Do you want to be able to give your children an education? What do you want? Why do it? Just real briefly. All right. That was just a really quick bunch of questions to help you identify who you are as an investor. How many people here had a few insights? Just a few insights. Great. We're going to get back into our partners, our 2 partners, and we're just going to share real quick. We're going to take 2 minutes each to share what insights you had from that exercise. Okay? Real quick. Come on. We've got tons to do tonight. So it's amazing how a series of questions can tell us a lot about ourselves, right? All right, so this is the time for the case study. I actually had a really good time taking a project and kind of figuring out the questions that were involved in the project. I met a woman, her name is Kim. She came to my cash flow game, and she wanted to have coffee, and over coffee she told me that her father had passed away. He was living in Cambria, and she was left the house. It was a 2-1, and he was a collector, and she didn't know what to do with the house, and honestly, it was too emotionally upheaving for her to go through and sort everything out. So the first question I asked was, how can I help, right? And she said, well, I know you're a flipper, and I was wondering if you wanted to flip it. And if you didn't want to flip it, maybe you could help me wholesale it, market it for the wholesaler. And I said, sure, She didn't know what to do about her tax bases, so I took her to my accountants. We figured out the tax bases, and then we went to the house. Oh, can we turn down the lights a little? You can see the house. There we go. This is the house. It didn't even have a driveway. And this is the inside. Yeah, that's a house. This is me in the kitchen, and this is the kitchen without me in it.
This is your Cambria Flip?
This is my Cambria Flip.
Sorry, where's Cambria?
Cambria is about 3.5 hours north. It's up by San Luis Obispo. And this is the ocean from the view from the house, right? So I saw the house, and after I asked her how I could help, I thought, all right, somebody's going to make money off of this house, but it's 3.5 hours away from me, and I don't really have the time to do it. So I'll put it out to my network of wholesalers, and we'll see what comes of it. So that's what we did. I got it under contract, put it out to my network of wholesalers. We had some people come by and look at it, and the offers were dismal. And Kim was disappointed, and so was I. And then I realized I wasn't asking myself the right question. I had dismissed it because it was so far away, and I didn't want to travel up there all the time. So I asked myself a new question. How could I do the flip so that it worked for me? Right? And then I thought, well, if I had a partner that I really trusted, then we could split our time and I wouldn't have to be up there all the time. We could tag team on it. So I found somebody who I trusted who had the same flipping experience I had, and I asked if they wanted to partner with me. She said, yeah. So we partnered together. Oops. Next thing I know, so asking if somebody wanted to partner was the next question. Then I said, how do I make the numbers work? Right? Now I've got to make the numbers work. Well, I said to Kim, do you need the money right away? Can you finance this for me? And Kim said, yeah. So she seller financed it. And then all I had to do is come up with the $80,000 to do the rehab. I asked another friend, hey, do you have $80,000? Could I use it? I'll give you 10% back for the next 6 to 8 months. And they said, yeah. Another series of questions, right? The network, right? The network, right? It's good to know who you can go to for that, right? Yeah. So I asked her if she was interested in lending money, and then the rehab began. Do you think that was the end of my questions? No. Absolutely not, right? So we got into the house, we found out there were foundation issues. We had 7 foundation companies over, and we learned all kinds of different ways to correct them. We ended up going with a burrito and not a taco, which is a whole different story that I can talk to you about after this meeting. But we had a series of questions that we talked to the foundation people about. We had another issue in Cambria, and that is that most of the workers there were craftsmen. Craftsmen cost a lot of money, and they take 8 to 12 weeks just to sometimes get an appointment with them. Well, my partner and I were like, we're going to be done with this job in 8 to 12 weeks. We can't wait. So what did we ask ourselves? How can we do this quicker and cheaper, right? So we started looking around San Luis Obispo, and we started looking at all the resources that they had around there, and we realized, you know what? We have some pretty good resources in LA. Why are we not using them and just renting a truck and loading it up and bringing it up here? So that's what we did. We rented a truck, we loaded it up with cabinets and flooring and countertops, and then we found some workmen in Cambria that could install at a much faster pace, right? We even, for our flooring person, we couldn't find someone in Cambria, so our flooring person ended up coming up and installing the floor. In exchange for the extra that he did, became a weekend in the beach house after it was complete, right? What did he want, right? Did I ask him, what can we do for you? Yeah, did it sweeten the deal for him? Yeah. Was it no skin off of us? Yeah. So, what did it look like after? Can you turn the lights down? There we go. That's pretty. Oops. There's the kitchen. That was the fireplace. Did you remember the fireplace? There was a fireplace behind all that stuff, right? There's the living room. Oh, there's the bathroom. There's the kitchen. I really kind of wanted to keep this after it was done. All right, so here are the numbers. We purchased the house for $400,000. We put $80,000 in it, and we sold it for $640,000, right? After closing costs, two escrows and holding costs, we cleared about $88,000, which was $44,000 each. Was that a good set of questions to ask, both to myself and to other people? Yeah. See how questions can work for you in this real estate business? Yeah. How long did it take? It took us about 8 months, beginning to finish. And we spent several weekends, we would go back and forth. So I'd spend a week there, and, we'd try to overlap, and then she'd spend a week there, and, tag team.
8 months?
Yeah, beginning to finish.
So does that profit take into account your expense of housing when you went up there?
Yeah, we wrote all that off in the company. that we formed. Oh, we rented a place because the place was uninhabitable at first. So we rented a little place around the block too, so that we could have a place to rest because we didn't want to do hotels. So the profit was after that was paid. We paid all of our gas out of the company, right? Because we're traveling for the company. Yeah, so we paid all that. So the profit was just for us.
Did you say with the partner, so you established a company together? to do
I
this?
actually had an S corp that I flip in, and we just did a joint venture agreement on this property in particular. So that's how it all ran together. Now, I flip a lot, right? So there are people here that probably want to do wholesaling or want to do buy and holds. Do you understand how the power of questions can really access different things for you? If you're talking to a homeowner, is getting to know them and getting to know their perspective really important? Yeah. If you're talking to a property manager, can you see how the power of questions might open up different opportunities for you? I question everything. I really do. I question, the management agreements that they send me. I ask, what's negotiable, what's not, right? I question it all. If you're trying to raise money, is it important to find out who's even open to that? Who's open to lending? Can you find out about what other people's investment philosophies are through a series of questions? Yeah.
What kind of great questions do you ask to discover that? Who is interested in lending money or investing?
What's your investing experience been? Anybody who's obviously previously lended might be open to lending more, right? If they say that they've already lended, or maybe if they haven't, would you be interested in making an X amount of return on your money? Right? Some great questions you could ask. All right, so that's the end of my case study. So I have one more question, and that is, what will propel you and yourself forward in your real estate career this year? Yeah?
What will you do?
What will you do to propel yourself forward in your real estate career? Yeah, write it down.
What are you going to do this year to propel yourself forward? I challenge you to come up with at least 3. Kind of whip these guys into shape, huh?
We make them stand, we make them sit. Oh. Done? All right, so that concludes my talk for this evening. If you're interested in getting a list of the questions that I've had up on these slides, you can email me and I'll give you that information. And I also wanted to just announce to you guys, I'm forming mastermind groups right now. There's an application process involved in that. I've found that in forming a mastermind, we want people who are at the same levels together because those are different conversations. So if you're interested in any of that, go to deborahrazo.com. And there's a little pop-up that says, let's talk. And if you want the slides, there's a little thing that says, leave your details. Push the leave your details and say, I want the slides, I want the questions. And if you're interested in the mastermind, push schedule now. And schedule now will lead you to this, and it says real estate mastermind information. So I'm having a free 30-minute Zoom call, and you'll see the schedule for that. And we'll go over what is involved in being in a mastermind and the application process. So so the website address is my name, deborahrazo.com. And if any of you women are interested in a women's real estate network, that's at reninspires.com.
All right. Thank you, Deborah.
Yay! Thank you.